Hi, and welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Anika, and I'm your host today. Really excited for an Illustrator Foundations Challenge bringing the back to school theme for you all this month. This is Challenge 4, and I'm excited because we're creating some templates in Adobe Illustrator. We'll create a custom checklist for teachers that you can reuse and print. And also, maybe if we have time, we'll also get into a worksheet. So let's dive into it. Let's show you where to get a starter file if you wanted to make it for yourself and where you can find all the replays for all the other challenges that we covered this month. Let's dive into it. Share my screen over here. Here we go. All right. So if you go to behance.net/challenge/illustrator, this is where all the challenges are housed. We worked with type on the first day of the challenge and generative recolor for challenge 2. We made a supplies dry flyer for challenge 3. And now is the last challenge, custom checklist for teachers. This is awesome because for getting the school year organized, you can create this checklist in Adobe Illustrator, learn to use templates in Illustrator. And once you click on the Get Started button over here, it'll redirect you to download this Illustrator file, which looks something like this. So this is a file, and here are the steps that I've listed for us to use while we create the checklist together. So why don't I go ahead and start making some of these things for our checklist here. So I'm going to copy paste these colors here so that I can use this for our purposes. And the first thing that I want to do is create like a star element, which is just going to serve as a design element for us. What I want to do is maybe do this and then use the direct selection here to make it curved over here. And then just by using these basic shapes such as a circle and also the square, it kind of helps bringing all of this together. So let's go ahead and align this. And the last thing that I want to do is create a square. So let's go ahead and do that. Give it that darker color. Here we go. That kind of looks cool, but I want to change the colors here. And that's like star number 1. Size it down really quick. And then now we can go ahead and make variations of this. So I'm going to go ahead and group this guy and then click Shift and Option and drag it out. Hold Option first and then Shift and drag it out like so. And now if you press Control D, if you're working on a Windows device, Command D on a Mac, it's going to create copies however many times that you wanted. All right, let's go ahead and change some colors here. So maybe I wanted to do this, and then for the last one, I want to do this. Maybe this kind of works. I think this looks good. Maybe I want to change the color to that. Yeah, and then perhaps we can do something like this for the last one. All right, that's like some of the design assets that we made. I will also show you how to make some sparkle effects. So we're just gonna segregate this into design elements over here. If you go ahead and make a sphere, which you can do just by this circle tool or the ellipse tool, pressing L on the keyboard, you can go ahead to effect, distort and transform and give it a pucker effect. So that's kind of fun because it's an easy way to create sparkles, and I really, really love that. I'm gonna go ahead and group that and put it to this side over here as well. And the last thing that I want to do is use that ellipse tool again, and just as an example for like headings and stuff, I can go ahead and give it like a zigzag effect. So again, select your shape, go to effect, and then go to path, sorry, distort and transform, and then click on zigzag. There are multiple ways that you can create this design asset. You can make a relative or an absolute over here. Just because I want to overlay this with text, I'm going to keep it absolute and then maybe even decrease the size a little bit. Now, if you wanted to use something with like edges, like very straight edges like this, you could keep the points as corner. If you want something smooth, you can do something like this. I think I kind of like this better. Seems more approachable, seems more friendly. So these are all the design assets that we might be using today. So I'm just going to keep this over here just so that we have these ready to go. Now I'm going to bring the color palette outside here, and then let's start by creating a custom checklist. So what I'm going to do is place these elements on the side and then place these two at the bottom somewhere. Maybe we place it here. And then let's make sure that it's like equidistant from both the corners. I'm going to make the classic way to do it. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to bring this down here And then let's go back up and then do the same. Now we're just setting up the file. That's why it seems like it's taking too long. But once you have this checklist available with you, you can go ahead and use that Illustrator template file to create as many checklists as you want. So we have something on the go here. What I'm going to do is make some shapes so that it's easy for us to create some text and then even some space to add the custom checklist. So I'm gonna go ahead here and then I'm gonna send it to back. Let's do that. And maybe change the color to the lighter yellow. I'm just using the eyedropper tool here. And what I want to show you in the starter file also is that there's a checklist copy right over here that I've given you just as an example. But if you're a teacher or a student and you want to do something like this, you can go ahead and add your own, of course. And then this is one title that I wanted to add, but maybe I want to change the font. We have the fieldwork font here, but what I want to do is go to the font name and change it to irregardless. This is a variable font, and that's why I kind of love it. So I'm going to do just that and then change it, make it bigger, and then center line it to the shape that we have. So center line that, maybe make it the darker blue over here. That looks cool. Now, the next thing that I want to do is add like a teacher's name. Since this is for all the teachers, I'm going to bring this shape here and then again use the M tool, which is just the rectangle tool to get this color over here. And then maybe I want to add some notes to that as well. Now you can go ahead and change all of these later once you know that this is what you want. But that's the beauty of the template. You can actually go ahead and still change all of these things after the fact. All right, and these are looking kind of pointy, so I'm going to press direct selection on my keyboard, which is A, and then round the corners a little bit. All right, that looks pretty cool to me. I am going to go ahead and add a little bit of like a design element here as well. So maybe I'll make like an arrow here, and I have this as the color. Maybe I want to make it like the blue color. So I'm going to make that as a stroke. And then what I want to do is add an arrow to it. So go to your stroke panel, and then here is the arrowhead where you can add an arrow to the end of the path. This is the beginning, and this is when you want to add it to the end. So maybe you want to keep it simple, add this guy, and it looks pretty cool. I also want to change the cap to a rounded cap, and that looks cool. And maybe I want to make like 3 of them, right? And that's pretty cool, I think. And then let's just get the color here, which is cool. And then maybe get the same color here. So I'm just gonna eyedrop the appearance as well. So I think this is a good start, good place to start. But the next step is actually adding a checkbox and a dash stroke, which is what is gonna show us where to add the items in the checklist, right? We need that. That's the most important thing. I do want to go ahead and do just that. So let me go ahead and use our rectangle tool, which is just over here. It's by M, which is the shortcut. And then I want to go ahead and change this to a stroke. So pressing Shift X will convert that fill to a stroke. And then maybe I want to round these as well. That looks cool and approachable. The next step is to essentially make a line segment, which is going to have the space, which will act as a blank space. So I'm just taking this as an example for size, and then I'm going to divide this by 2 so that it has equidistant and is like mathematically correct. So select that line segment, go and divide, and let Illustrator do the math for you. So now I can bring the shape to the bottom here and change the stroke to be the same as the stroke that we had on the checkbox. All right. This is looking like it's way too big. So I'm going to bring this here, and then maybe I want to align this to the bottom of this guy. And then maybe I'll use the direct selection to make it smaller. All right, that looks very, very accurate to me. What I want to do is make the stroke cap here as rounded as well. And what we want to do is create a dashed line. That by default wasn't there. I just added a 6 and 2, and that kind of looks pretty cool to me. I do want to go ahead and see how that looks with a 3-point space in between, and that looks much better. Let's stick with this and show you how you can create copies of this just so that we have consistency in our design. I think this might be a bit too big, so I'm gonna bring this back here like so, and that looks cool. All right, let's go ahead and make this again 1 point, And then I'm going to group this up, Command G or Control G. Now, what I'm going to do is create duplicates of this, right? So I'm going to do the same trick that I did earlier. Option, click, shift, and drag. And that's going to make a copy of that. Now, this is slightly, I'm going to delete that because it was much further than I wanted it to be. And once I've done that, without doing any other function or change in your Illustrator file. If you press Command D if you're working on a Mac and Control D if you're working on a Windows device, it'll create duplicates of the last action that you did. So you can do as many or as less as you wanted. So now that we have this, I'm going to group this whole thing and you see that it can move individually anywhere. And then I can go ahead and do the same thing, Option, click, Shift, and drag it out here. And that's that. And then I'm going to group all of that and align it to the center. I think that looks cool. That is pretty cool. And with that said, I think we are almost there. The checklist is template looks pretty cool to me. And then now we can go ahead and create like a worksheet situation. If you are a teacher and if you wanted to create a worksheet for your kids in class, I think this is a simple and easy way to make it as well, because you can reuse that same asset every single time you're doing something. So let's go ahead and create something for breaking the ice once the kids come back in a new school year. So let's just say, let's break the ice. I'm going to bring this up a little bit, center line it, and then center it to our shape over here, like so. And remember the shapes that we created, I can add that over here as well, and that looks pretty cool. Change the color slightly, and that actually looks pretty fun. I am almost reconsidering adding this shape back to the teacher's checklist, but that's the beauty of having templates. You can go ahead and change the shapes anytime you wanted. I'm going to bring this shape in here as well, send it to back, and this is where your kid's name can go. You don't need to write anything in here. Maybe I'll just bring this shape in here and say your name. And then maybe I'll change the font to be Eldwin, which is like a script font, which is another fun font that I like. All right. Let's go ahead and make some more shapes over here, which will act as the activity that we're doing. So I'm just gonna add the shape over here. That looks cool to me. Maybe something like so. And then, yeah, maybe make it smaller. And then something like this. That looks pretty cool to me. I just want to go ahead and add one more thing here. So let me go ahead and make this smaller and maybe tilt it. I'm just going to give you an example of how you can make it more fun. I do want to bring this over here and maybe change the color to this. Yeah, let's keep it yellow. And then we'll overlay it to that. Now, maybe for the icebreaker, you want to say favorite songs. Okay, but obviously you can change it to anything that you wanted. Rotate that slightly and then bring that in here. That actually looks really cool. I do want to go ahead and change it to the same font just to have that consistency actually. So let's keep that here and then make it center line. That looks cool. I'm gonna remove this as well. All right. So you can go ahead and repeat and rinse this process to create what you like in your worksheet as well. So this is like a break the ice worksheet, and I think this works really well because this lets you interact with your kids and also take the pressure off, which I think is super cool. And this can be something like countries I would like to visit. And then obviously you can change the leading over here to anything that you wanted. You can make this slightly bigger as well. So I'm going to bring that in. Maybe I want to decrease the point size of this a little bit to like 30 and then change that as well. I'm going to have to change that all across the board just to have that consistency again. And then that actually gives up some breathing room to our design. So let's do that really quickly. Yeah, that's actually looking cool. And then maybe this one can be most and least favorite subject. Maybe I can bring this to the next line. Hmm. Yeah, and if you wanted, you can go ahead and add some sparkle elements to this as well, which I think lends itself beautifully to the design. So maybe if you wanted, you can add some of this here. Awesome. Without dwelling too much into detail, I want to go back and show you how to make an Illustrator template. So this is where we started from. Just as a quick recap, we created some design elements and added the details. Now our next step is to create an Illustrator template file to use. Now, if you wanted, you can keep this checklist as is. And there's another bonus worksheet that I created for you all, just because I wanted to show you how fun and easy it is to create worksheets in Adobe Illustrator. But you can go ahead and copy this checklist in your check sheet. Now, obviously, you'll have to change how this looks, and maybe I want to increase the leading on this. That looks pretty good to me. And this way, I can remove the bullets and numbering here and bring this over here. That looks pretty good to me. Maybe you want to change the leading a little bit so that it matches your um dashed lines that you've created. But overall, if you wanted, you can either do that or leave it empty and add it as you go and as you type things. So now comes the most important part, which is how do you create an Illustrator template out of this? So I'm going to have to let you go to your Explorer and find Adobe Illustrator in that. Adobe Illustrator will be under Applications, and then you go to Adobe Illustrator, the same version that you're working on right now. I'm working in Adobe Illustrator 2024, so I scroll to that and then go to Cool Extras. This is where your templates are stored. And make sure you have the read and write abilities and permissions activated for your user. So I'm going to go ahead here and double click and show you what it has. It has all the blank templates, which are Illustrator's defaults. And this is where we're saving our file as a template. So I'm going to hit save and save our file that we just created. And now I'm going to go ahead and go to File, Save as Template, and this is going to browse to the same folder by default. I'm going to say challenge-4, which is my file name, and click on save. It says cannot save the illustration because you do not have enough access privileges. That's when I go back to my folder here, and this is perfect because I want to show you how you could do that. So this is your get info button. You go ahead and see if you have enough access ability. Go to get info again. And then this says that I only have read only permissions. So what I'm going to do is add in my password. So I'm going to do just that over here. And then I can change this to read and write, which is going to let me do the thing that I just decided to do. So it's going to let me make a template now. Go to save as template again, go to the same steps, and ta-da, we have our template right over here. So browse back to the ENUS folder, double click on that, and then here's the Illustrator template file that we just created. And if you notice here, it changed our Illustrator file into an Illustrator template, and that just tells me that the operation was a success. So if I go back to home, and then if I wanted to open a new file, I would simply double click, browse to this folder and double click and go back here. That's going to create a new file for me. Since this was open, it didn't. I'm going to go ahead and double click that. And that's Untitled 3, which is a new file that was created just from our template. It has all our shapes, all our information that we previously stored, and every font is still a font. So that's how you can make your very own template in Adobe Illustrator. I love that. I did say that we can create an Ruby Express template to share. So I'm going to quickly browse through my Chrome and open Adobe Express really quickly so I can show you how you can make a remixable template using the same assets that we just created. Let's say it's a square size that we just added. And then I want to browse to my Illustrator file here and say I wanted to create something as like a card in like an index card, right? But I want to use Illustrator for that. So maybe it says, let's break the ice. And then the first thing was favorite songs. And then I just add these shapes here. I'm going to send it to back. Or, you know what? Maybe I just want the shape for now. And then we'll figure out the design later. But I'm going to group this and I'm going to align it to the middle. That looks cool to me for demonstration purposes for now. I do see that I maybe want to make it bigger. So I want to, sorry, just do that. I'm going to make it slightly bigger to hide that little tangent there. And then this is cool. Now I want to make it a remixable template to share so that anyone can share this via a link that I will have. Adobe Express will generate that. Click on the share button, click on save as a remixable template. Now you can do this by two ways, either add it to a brand or library, or you can click on publishing a link. For today's purposes and to make everyone's life easy, I'm going to publish a link so that anyone on the internet with an Adobe Express account can access it. So I'm going to click this and make it a public shareable link and click on next. You can rename that to breaking the ice template, and then author's name. You can hide your name as well or show it and then click on publish link. Meanwhile, Adobe Express is doing this in the background. If you want to see the link though, because it's not showing me where the link is, go back to the share button and click on the save as a remixable template. Click on publish link, click on next, and it generates a link and it's right over here. Copy that and then open that in a new page. Awesome. That's the file that we just created. And this is an asset. You can see that this is an image that you added. And if you click on remix, it's going to open and create a new file from this template that anyone can use. It says breaking the ice template by me. And then you can click on remix or you can click on share. The link is copied to clipboard and you can share it with anyone that you would like. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Anika Aggarwal signing out. This was challenge 4 of the Illustrator challenges for the month of August. Thank you so much for tuning in. Go to behance.net/challenge/illustrator for all the replays and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.